Hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Up Your Brave live stream. So what we're doing here collectively is aiming to raise the state of resilience, health, and happiness, not just in New Zealand, but on a global level. So I've got some amazing guests for you today. And the topic we're going to dive into is courage and leadership. And I did a post this morning on my page, and it was all about, are you a leader? You don't have to have a team or staff to be a leader. You can be a leader in your own life. You can be a parent and be a leader of your family. So we're going to dive into that and also the concept of courage. So let's bring in my awesome guests. Here we go. Right. So I'll do a quick intro for you guys. We've got Jess Stuart coming in from Wellington. Now, you may or may not know her as the imposter syndrome expert. I'm going to do more bio later. Moving on to William Pike, who you probably know from high schools around the country, and of course, the William Pike Challenge. And then we have speaker and author Lorraine Hamilton, also from Wellington. But when you hear her speak, you'll know that she is not originally from Wellington. And there you go. So what I'm going to do is, as I always do, is kick off with my first guest. Jess, I'm going to read a little bit of a bio about you, and it's so interesting for people to see who I bring in together. And I'm also always excited to connect the guests that I bring in and to get them to get to know each other as well. So Jess is author, coach, and an international speaker, empowering people to be their best. Now, she's got a background in HR, as well as a decade in corporate, training with experts across the globe. Now, Jess, you also did, I think, a big excursion overseas studying mindfulness and yoga. So what an interesting combination. So Jess gives practical advice for building resilience and leveraging strengths while navigating fear and getting over self-doubt and mastering the art of balance. She's an author, like I said, and welcome, Jess. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Nat. Great to be here.
Hey, if you want to do a little bit of elaborate on that bio at all, you're welcome to give us a little bit more backstory. And then what first tip do you have for everyone on courage and leadership?
Thank you for the intro. You did a wonderful job. So I work a lot with women, particularly in leadership. And I love your comment at the start, Nat, that we are all leaders. We all lead something. We lead ourselves for a start, and then much more else after that, depending on our family situation, community work, our jobs, that kind of stuff. So I worked in HR for 15 years before I started my own business 5 years ago. And HR is a really privileged position because you get to be the confidant of a lot of leaders and you get to hear their inner thoughts. And I was also a leader myself. So I try and translate that now to the women that I coach and support in their own leadership journeys. And I talk about leadership as reaching our potential. So when we develop in our career, we want to hit our potential. And for me, potential has two sides. And this is really my tip. It's the belief that we have potential. So that belief in ourselves and knowing our strengths. And also the energy to deliver on that potential, which is where the resilience and the self-care and time for us comes in. So when we understand the two sides of that coin, we're more able to achieve our potential, and that helps us in the leadership space.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think people start thinking, I can do it. It is possible. And they can be a leader in their own life for sure. Hey, so if you guys are watching, whether you're watching the replay or the live stream, go ahead and comment. We love to know where you are geographically. So let us know the city that you're in, and we can just see where people are listening in from. So we'll go to William. So William, I'm going to read a little bit of your bio, and I'm excited, hopefully, to see you when we're all allowed back to interact in person. I'm excited, hopefully, to see you at my kids' school, because I know the William Pike Challenge is part of our school as well. All right. So if you haven't met William before, he's an inspirational speaker, a Kiwi explorer, successful entrepreneur, and father of two. You can tell us how old the kids are, because I got to give it to you. Lockdown with two young ones. Kudos to you. Having inspired audiences throughout New Zealand and overseas, with audiences ranging from 10 people to 2,500 people, William delivers relatable messages that challenge audiences to step outside their comfort zone and achieve their absolute best. Like I mentioned, he is director of the program, the William Pike Challenge. Welcome, William.
Thank you very much. Kia ora, everyone. Yes, that's right. I'm director of the William Pike Challenge, and it's a youth development program for year 7, 8, and 9 kids. So just touching on that high school age, as you mentioned before. And our big thing is that we help teachers around New Zealand develop students' resilience, wellbeing through the William Pike Challenge, and they do that by participating in outdoor activities, community service, and passion projects. And they have the best EOTC or education outside the classroom experiences ever, we think. And I guess it's all about as well preparing kids for tomorrow's world and having kind of heaps of fun along the way. And as you mentioned before, also, I love being on stage and speaking, and I talk to teams and individuals and businesses. And my big message is really just to get people to step outside of their comfort zone to achieve their absolute best. I was having a think the other day about some, I guess, of my most memorable kind of presentations, and one was to the New Zealand Navy dive team, and an elite team with, as you can imagine, exceptional kind of courage and leadership. And another one was to an audience for Barfoot and Thompson. They had 2,500 people. We mentioned that too. That was a real buzz. And but sadly, like COVID-19, has wiped that whole speaking side of things out. But I'm looking forward to doing a women's and business conference soon, live, digitally, like this. So just quickly before you can move on from me, because it's not all about me. How on earth do I fit into the leadership and courage kind of side of things that we're talking about today? Well, I should say I had a crash course in leadership and courage when I lost my leg on Mount Ruapehu back in 2007, and a volcanic eruption of all things. And I've been able to use what I've learned and apply that courage and leadership, especially self-leadership, as we talked about before, to overcome my challenges and start businesses and inspire the next generation of Kiwi kids. So yeah, that's a bit of an intro on me.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, doing the digital presentations, because I know you're so used to doing it in person, where people can clearly see that you did have a crash course because when you walk out on stage, right, it's very evident. But here we are online, and it's like it's not as apparent, but it is a pivotal part of your journey, your story, and your message. What do kids what do kids come up and say to you the most after your talk?
Yeah, well, when I'm in and out of schools or speaking to them, they've got great questions. And as we all know, kids have just got zero filter, which I think is a cool thing. So, because top ones are like, Mr. Pike or William, is your leg going to grow back? No. Or where's the skin gone from your leg is a fantastic one. Can I touch your leg? Usually not cool to go around touching males' legs, but of course, my prosthetic leg is always a bit of fun for people to look at and kind of touch. So I love the fact that kids have no filter. It's great.
Hey, before I move on from you, I know that I alluded to the fact that you were a father. How old is your youngest child?
Yeah, so Oliver is now must be 8 or 9 weeks old. So he's still a baby, but no, we love him to bits. And also Harriet is our eldest at 3 years old. So yeah, I can tell you what, lockdown has been a full-on experience, parenting for both my wife and I, and we're looking forward to. We've already been on the beach and along the bush tracks just to get some fresh air over the last few days. But exciting times in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd love to explore the concept of comfort zone with everybody a little bit more, because it is such a catchphrase, but it does mean different things to different people. Hey, I'll go to you, Lorraine, to give us a little bit more background and your first tip. But please hold. Let me to read your little background. Here we go. Lorraine is a professional certified coach, author, speaker, and CEO of Coach School, who works with ambitious professionals to become legendary leaders. Now, some of you guys, you've heard me mention Lorraine in previous episodes and her concept of legendary leaders. So I'm excited to dive into that. She's also a recovering engineer, a Scottish Kiwi, an author, and a mother of 2 teenage girls. Lorraine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Yes, I'm not originally a Kiwi. I never had an accent until I came here. It's been really cool listening to Jess and William, because we're so aligned on so many things. And the vision of Coach School is to create a world where everyone can reach and exceed their potential. So I work with professional women and leaders on developing their people. So it's all around empowering others. But I also love that everyone's touched on this tip of, we need to be able to lead ourselves before we can lead others. And so legendary leaders are very much connected to that they need to lean into their own discomfort. And that takes courage, right? That's where the courage piece comes, that you need to lean into those really uncomfortable places, because leaders are pioneers. There's no roadmap for a legendary leader. They are doing something that no one has done before. And so that can be uncomfortable. So legendary leaders are pioneers, and definitely the first tip is leaning into that discomfort of the unknown, which we're all doing right now, and understanding, what are your stress indicators? What are the things that you can notice that are that indicate that you are under stress, and then have tools in your toolkit to be able to deal with that. Because when you're operating from that calmer place, then you can lead that much stronger.
I know one of mine straight away. It's like when I start swearing out loud, then I know that I'm a little bit stressed.
I'm from Glasgow. That's like punctuation for us. So, that's not an indicator of stress for me.
Each to their own, exactly. Hey, I'm going to go to the comments. Thank you so much for watching. We've got Shailesh watching here, Nina Babbage in Auckland, Ellie Bambury, who's actually going to be on the show next week. I'm bringing back the topic of teens. It's such a popular topic. And Kendra, thank you so much for joining us, you guys. So I'm going to chime in too with one of my tips. A lot of people think, oh, I'm not courageous or I'm not a leader. And especially in challenging times, I feel like in life, right? Either challenges are thrown at you like they are right now for everybody on a global scale. But of course, it's not the same thing. It's very different. I've got people who are loving lockdown. I've got people who are stressed to the max and everything in between. But so in life, we get things thrown at us, right? And we just deal with them, like William's story. And then we also have things in life where we choose the challenge. Like we actually choose to do something, whether it's, a multi-sport event or a, writing a book even, right? That's a big challenge. So my tip really is, if you're finding it hard and can't, with your courage and leadership feeling challenged, is to reflect on resilience, meaning reflect on a time in the past when you actually did persevere through a chosen challenge or a challenge that got thrown your way. And you can use that connection and that courage to move forward. So that's my little tip today. All right, I'm going to go to Jess. So Jess, if you can dive into your second tip, that would be grand.
Yeah, I think it's fabulous you mentioned comfort zone before, because that's what I'm going to talk about. Because when we come up against challenges, that's also an opportunity for us. And obviously we've all had masses of challenges in our life, but most of us are experiencing one right now with the world changing the way it is, the need to get more comfortable with uncertainty, because it is an uncertain situation we find ourselves in as well. And I guess when things change, we have the option of resisting it because we don't like it or it's not our choice, or accepting it and going with the flow. But either way, we need to get outside of our comfort zone to do that. And when we talk about courage, a lot of the time that involves taking risk. And this is something I talk about in my Women in Leadership programs. And the pushback I always get is, yeah, but what if I fail? And that's one of the main reasons we don't want to get out of our comfort zone, because we worry, what if I'm making the wrong choice? What if I fail? What will people think? And a whole host of the unknown. But here's what I always say to people. When you get out of your comfort zone, one of two things will happen. Either you'll succeed, and that's great, or you'll fail and you'll learn something that'll help you succeed, which is also great. And so when we often see failure as the end of the road rather than the bend and how we learn. And when we flip that narrative, when we start to see failure as a stepping stone to success and a way that we learn, we're more courageous and we're less fearful of taking that leap outside of our comfort zone. And then we get into this loop, because the more we get out of our comfort zone, the more we're able to prove ourselves. And when we prove ourselves competent by either succeeding or learning something so that we succeed next time, we gain the confidence. So there's that whole loop around competence and confidence that we only get when we take the risk, when we challenge ourselves, when we get outside of our comfort zone. And then when we do that, we find it's not that bad. I always talk about public speaking because I was an author before I was a speaker. And so I used to I'm an introvert. I sit by myself, I write, I don't talk to people. And then all of a sudden, as William said before, you're asked to stand up in front of hundreds or thousands of people and share your story. And for about the first year, I could never hold a microphone because my hand was shaking when I was at conferences and events. And the more times I did it, the more I learned. And that whole competence piece gave me confidence, but it wouldn't have happened unless I'd got myself out of the comfort zone in the first place and took it on and kept doing it to a point where now it sits inside of my comfort zone and doesn't fill me with so many nerves. So facing the challenge, being courageous, taking the risk, and knowing that if we fail, that's part of being human, and it just means we've got to learn something before we can then succeed.
Amazing. And you are so good with the mic. I've seen you at live events as well. And you always tell that story about the shaking microphone. But it's really inspiring for people who might be sitting there in the audience going, I could never stand up there. I would be way too nervous. And you're like, well, it is possible. Because like you said, it's not only about you, it's about the message you have and what other people can do when they hear that message. So that's awesome. So go ahead and comment in the chat box if things are coming up for you around comfort zone or persevering when you feel like you need to be perfect or you could fail, that type of thing. So go ahead and comment and share some of your thoughts with us in the chat box. All right, William, we'll go to you for your next tip.
Cool, fantastic. Awesome, Jess. A lot of what you said there kind of resonated with me in terms of stepping outside your comfort zone. It's the big thing. So I'll kind of blend my two kind of tips into one. And I guess I'll carry on, from stepping outside of your comfort zone. And I guess tip-wise, thinking about kind of leadership specifically, but actually it doesn't need to be just leadership. I think whether you're trying to create change for yourself or whether you're overcoming challenges or grabbing opportunities or making impact, leading yourself or kind of leading others, you need to step outside your comfort zone to do that. And I think to step outside of that comfort zone and to be comfortable being uncomfortable, always make sure I say that right. I think there's a few things that need to have lined up in a row. And I guess my tip for stepping outside of your comfort zone is to have these kind of 1, 2, 3 things. And the first thing is to be super clear on your purpose. I really believe that purpose gives you your fuel for your fight, and I guess to be resilience as well. And I'll double back to purpose soon. And I guess the other thing is to build strong teams, strong whānau. And I was lucky, so lucky. I had support through hospital, in place before the accident happened. I think it's so important to build that tight-knit team, whether it be at school, home, or community, before things go pear-shaped, so that you've got those people to ride the storm with. And that's so evident in kind of times like now. And the third tip is around just never underestimating yourself. I've learned that we are just so much more capable and so much more resilient than we have kind of ever imagined. I've been there. I've faced that fear. I've doubted myself. And I guess I encourage people to kind of turn that fear into courage. So whether it be leadership or whatever it may be, my tip is to step outside of that comfort zone, be clear on that purpose, have that strong team, and also to never kind of underestimate yourself. And if I was to double back on talking about courage and kind of purpose, I do remember probably one of the toughest parts of my life, which was coming from hospital, all kind of bashed and broken, and turning up at home and realizing far out this was the new me. I wasn't going to grow that leg back. There were some really dark days, and I felt like giving up, and I needed to build up some kind of courage, and I was able to do that by having that strong sense of purpose. And I think the drive behind individuals and great organizations is really that kind of single purpose, of why they kind of exist. And my purpose, of course, was always the outdoors and education and people. And having that real clear purpose gave me the courage and the confidence, I guess, to believe myself, to lead myself, and to really face up to those challenges that were right in front of me. So yeah, my two tips around kind of courage and leadership is step outside that comfort zone, but also be really, I suppose, super clear on that purpose.
That's so valuable how you were diving into what I call the how just now, because a lot of people intellectually, we know, push yourself outside your comfort zone. We know that, but the people are like, but how do I do that? And so thank you for outlining that. What do you guys, if you're watching this and you're wanting to take notes, like I'm scribbling a few notes off to the side here, but I actually do listen back to the episodes. I take notes and I pop them up with this replay on my website. So if you guys want to check out this one or any other of their episodes, you can check it out, nataliecutlerwelsh.com/video series. And there's so much synergy here. I did another panel about leadership, and a few same but very different concepts are coming up all the time. So really our goal is just to give you guys some ideas, some insight and inspiration to maybe just tweak or pivot things in your life so that you do feel more courageous or more of the leader that you were really born to be. Anne-Marie is commenting here. I have a hospitality business and have decided not to open at level 3. Ooh, she owns Pinchos, which is down the road from me. It was an uncomfortable, hard decision, but crunching the numbers and preparation helped me. Doubt was there, but now very pleased to wait. Any comments from you guys about making tough decisions and then not having like decision remorse and things like that you want to talk to Anne-Marie's comment here?
I'll take that one. I think it actually speaks a lot to William's comment about purpose as well. It's like, if you know what your purpose is and you know what's most important to you, what your values are, it gives you so much more clarity about making those really tough decisions. So it sounds like Anne-Michelle has really done that. She's dug deep into what are the priorities and made an informed choice based on that, which, you know, you're not going to regret that. And Michelle, well done. That was a courageous thing to do. But I'd love to hear from Jess and William as well.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that. Yeah, I think you kind of put the words out of my mouth and summarised that kind of perfectly. I guess leading with purpose and leading with kind of gut, you know, very, very similar things. And it sounds like that this has done that. So I think, yeah, power to you. Over to Jess.
I think when we talk about risks, you know, we should preface that with calculated risks. So getting out of our comfort zone is all very well and good, but we have to do that in line with doing our research, crunching the numbers as you've done, Michelle, and making sure that the risk we're taking is a sensible one. It's in line with our skills. It's in line with our purpose and what the environment is telling us. And sometimes it means we have to make a hard decision, and that takes courage as well. So good on you for doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. She's like, thank you so much. That's awesome. You know, I talk a lot about the different zones that people live in, and I talk about the should zone and the frustration zone, and we want to get to the up your brave zone. Well, sometimes you'll get pushback, and I imagine Anne-Marie and other people making bold decisions, not just during COVID, but in life in general. You get people going like, really, do you think that's a good idea? Or like, what are you thinking? You know, so I imagine she's going to have customers, you know, wanting her to open so that they can have the music and the pizza. So I think it's a great analogy. But it's like, we have to stay true to what we're about and stand strong and make the decisions that are going to serve us, like you guys have highlighted. Let's go back to Lorraine for her tip number 2.
Cool. So my tip number 2 is creating an environment for everyone to be at their best. I think that really is my definition of good leadership, is creating an environment for everyone to be at their best. And that really came from my own experience. So as you alluded to, I used to be an engineer. So I used to design mobile phone networks for a living. And in one of my roles, I had a leader who didn't create that environment for me to be able to excel. So he was working with the best of his intentions. I was working with the best of my intentions, but it was just one of those situations where it just didn't work. And it was really damaging to me. Fast forward, doing a whole lot of work in the coaching space and really changed careers. And when we came to New Zealand, because I'm not a native New Zealander, you may have noticed, when I came to New Zealand, I went and took a 6-month contract with a little known company called NZ Comms at the time, which then became 2 Degrees Mobile. And I was really concerned about taking another engineering role because of the experience that I'd had. But bringing all of what I know about people allowed me to really excel in that role. And then I was promoted into a leadership space and allowed what I knew to create a space for everyone to be their best. And that was really uncommon in my company, in my industry. What was much more common was everybody had the same job description, everybody had the same KPIs, everybody was treated the same, but not equally. So it was around me taking the courage to do something different and go, okay, well, what's most important to each engineer in my team? And some of them were there for promotion prospects. Some of them were just riding out their time until they could pick up their pension. Everybody had a different motivator. And when you understand what people's motivators are, then you can create that environment where they can succeed. Just like Jess said, it's like if you succeed, it builds confidence, and that confidence builds more success. It just keeps growing. So by doing that, it was quite unpopular. My boss at the time was very nervous about me taking this different approach, but it really, really paid off. And we ended up leading the culture in 2 degrees. From my little engineering team in Wellington, they were being held up as the type of culture to create in the organization. And, you know, engineers are not normally known for their social skills, let alone their culture building abilities. But it was a really, really proud moment for me, because then we also had an IBM Connexa award around that. But it was all came back to this idea of create an environment for everyone to be at their best and know what's most important to your individuals. Because if you do that, you can then understand the meaning behind their behavior. So if I was just to sneak a second little tip in there, it would be discern the meaning behind the behavior. And that is what sets legendary leaders apart, because they can manage conflict really, really easily. But that's a whole other topic. So create an environment for everyone to be at their best.
Yes. Exactly. And that's really aligned with what you talk about, Jess. Hey, so what I'd love to do is I'll do this round, which I just started adding in, which is, I call it What's Cool About You. And I'll tell you why I do it. I was reading a book called, it was like Millionaire Business Tips or something. So I'm a total geek. I love reading business books. And it talked about in this section, it had this mentor who asked this guy, you know, what's cool about you? And the reason he did that was for confidence, because when you start not just thinking, but saying the things that are cool about you, like, oh, I did this and I can also do that. And I also traveled over here. It's suddenly what it does is it actually builds confidence. And so he noticed this and used it with his mentoring. So I said to the ladies in my Amplify membership, it was about 2 weeks ago, I said, I want you guys to comment below what's cool about you. Because even though you're experts in your field, you know, parenting, wellness, whatever, people want to know that you're actually human. Like, what else is cool about you that is not related to what you're trying to sell or help them with? And so that's why I thought I'm going to add this in here. So this section is called What's Cool About You. So Jess, I'll get you to kick it off. What's cool about you? We'll do that lap. And then I'm going to finish with like, what do you guys have coming up and how can people contact you? But we'll just do the What's Cool About You lap. So take it away.
All right, awesome. This is a relatively new thing, that's what's cool about me, brought on by our current lockdown situation. And that is that now I cut my own hair. But it also means that I can't actually turn to the side because let's just say it's a skill I'm developing, we found out. It's actually quite a hard thing to do, especially when it's your own hair. What is also cool about me, though, that's happened long before lockdown, Nat, you alluded to it at the start. When I left the corporate world 6 years ago, I was lucky enough to go across the globe and live in places like the Kingdom of Bhutan, who operate gross national happiness in place of GDP, teach English to Buddhist monks in northern Thailand, and I have been in meditation centers and ashrams across the world. And for me, developing a daily meditation practice and the amount of focus and composure and calm and concentration that I get from that, I kind of now see as my superpower. It's something I do every day, only for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, but it's what grounds me and it's what keeps me focused and calm and composed regardless of what happens and how the day goes or how long we spend in lockdown. So that's my top tip and what I say is my superpower.
Yeah, it is. And definitely, I love the double tip there, the double talents. Hey, if you guys are watching the replay, please let us know what's cool about you too, because we want to know. Nina, by the way, Nina says, leadership to me is also about staying true to who you are. Yes, indeed. And sometimes finding who you are by having to lead. So that's interesting if anyone wants to chime in on that. But yeah, even if you don't feel like you are a leader, sometimes you're just going to have to step up or step in and you discover what you're made of, which is interesting. All right, William, we'll go to you for what's cool about you.
Thank you. Some great comments coming through. And Jess, I think your haircut looks awesome. I'm actually in need of a haircut. So
thanks, William.
Too bad you're in London, and I'm in Auckland. So yeah. Right. So what's cool about me? Okay, I love adventures. I am just an adventure nut, and I'm extremely passionate about exploring what we've got in our own kind of backyard here in New Zealand. I think that no matter where you are in the country, you've got something beautiful on your back doorstep. Might not be able to access it right now. Some of the cool adventures that I've done in the past in New Zealand is kayak most of the way around Stuart Island and explored that place thoroughly. That's been an incredible place. I've done something similar in Doubtful Sound for about 10 days, where we kayaked and bushwalked and camped and hunted and dove. It was quite cool. And if I go offshore a wee bit, not that I like to travel offshore really at all, but a really cool adventure that I went on a few years ago was down in Antarctica, and I climbed a mountain called Mount Scott, and that's named after, of course, Sir Robert Falcon Scott. It's no Mount Everest, but it was quite a challenging mountain to get onto in terms of glaciers and crevasses and working our way up there. And perhaps that was one of my kind of pinnacle outdoor achievements, and quite a bizarre place to go. I managed to get on a Navy ship with the Sir Bedford Blake Truss and the Navy boys and girls, and we headed up to the Kermadec Islands, which is 1,000 kilometres northeast of New Zealand, kind of halfway to Tonga. And it was there that we helped out a lot of science experiments, and my role was going to mentor some young teenagers that were on the trip. And we also got to swim and dive with a lot of sharks in the water, which was quite exceptional. And the last kind of cool thing in terms of venturing, I suppose, is my new kind of passion, and I'm all about taking passions on. Obviously, that's why we have passion projects in the William Pike Challenge, which is something new to you. And my kind of new thing to me a few years ago was taking up spearfishing. And of course, spearfishing as an amputee doesn't come easy. So I worked for many years to get a prosthetic leg to fit right for my kind of spearfishing adventures, and managed to solve that and solve the pressure issues related to the socket and going deeper and things like that. And the last kind of 18 months or so, I've been right into my spearfishing, and it's a little bit grey. Are we allowed to spearfish at level 3? I'm not too sure. So I'm just going to hold him back a wee bit, and then I can't wait to get back into it. So bring on some adventures. That's what's cool about me.
Yeah, that is cool about you. And I think a lot of people will be doing the local adventures once we're allowed to do that even more. I know that we're wanting to take the kids skiing in Queenstown. So yay, bring it. All right, Lorraine, let's go to you. What's cool about you?
Not my ability to cut my fringe. I've had to go at it a couple of times, so Jess, I need some tips. So what's cool about me is for all of the people who are watching and are really intimidated listening to Jess and Williams, what's cool about them, because they're awesome, and mine's going to be really basic. So what's cool about me is that I can make a mean birthday cake. So I can make a really cool celebration cake. So I actually, it's less about the baking and more about the construction and the decorating. So, it doesn't need to be a grand plan. It doesn't need to be traveling the world. You can still do cool things at home. So I can make a mean birthday cake.
Awesome. I didn't know that. That's why I love this round. I've known all of you guys for a couple of years, and I'm learning all this new stuff. Hey, we cannot go past you, Lorraine, without talking about your hair. So it is, I know it's very obvious, but one of the things Lorraine told me is she literally gets hired because of her hair. Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
That is true. I didn't realize it until I was talking to like my students and clients, and I said, you do your market research, and say, so what attracted you to coach school? And they said, it was your hair. I was like, okay, a little bit more. And what it taught them was I was living life on my terms, that I was showing up as me and being who I am, and this is how I demonstrate my boldness, my authenticity, and being genuine. And as they got to know me, they recognized that was coming through. But yeah, people do hire me because of my hair. It's not why I did it. I've been doing it for so many years, but they hire me because of my hair. And I don't want to start like a movement of people wandering around with multicolored hair. That's not my jam. But I do want people to feel empowered to live their life as 100% themselves.
Yes. Nice. Lovely. Awesome. So I'm going to go to the next section, which is what's coming up for you. What have you got coming up, and how can we connect? I'll jump in with my what's cool about me. On the first episode, I said that I'm a dog expert. I'm a bit of a geek with dog breeds. On the next one, I said that I did a multi-sport, the Southern Traverse, back in 2002. But today, I'm going to tell you that when I was 19, I studied international development in Canada, where I'm originally from. And I saved up lots of money, did lots of fundraising, and I went to Guyana with a company called Youth Challenge International, and I wanted to save the world and build a well and and work in a school with the kids, which we did. But when I came home, I actually was talking to my mom on the phone, and I fully just passed out. I had malaria, and I like conked it on the floor because it incubates in your liver. So at least I made it home on time, which was good. All right, Jess, let's go to you. What's coming up for you, and how can we connect online?
Okay. What's coming up for me? Well, on Tuesday, I launched my third book. The Superwoman Survival Guide is coming out on Tuesday. I've got an online launch. That's happening. And the other stuff that's happening is a lot of online stuff, as most of you are doing right now. And then in September, I'm launching my annual Women in Leadership programs. This is the third year we've done it. It's open. Hopefully by then we're allowed to travel as well and gather. It's a small group coaching session. And the detail for all of that stuff is on my website. So the best place to find me is www.jessstuart.co.nz. And I think there was a comment there from Ellie about meditation. Do I make up my own or use an app? And it's a bit of both, Ellie. So sometimes I literally just sit for 5 minutes and watch my breathing and be still and calm my thoughts. And when my mind is extra busy, I do find it useful to have someone guide me. So then I'll use an app. Insight Time is a great free app that was actually built in New Zealand, but now used by millions of people across the world.
Nice little shout out. Thank you. I will put the links to your website and also that app you just mentioned in the show notes. Hey, I know also you had a retreat planned, which obviously you had to postpone. Is that still coming up in 2020?
It is, yes. So we didn't cancel it. We postponed it, much like life. I kind of said the whole of lockdown, life's not cancelled, it's just postponed. And so the retreat was due for early April, and it's now happening in Otaki. It's a women's weekend retreat, first weekend in September. The details are also on the website.
Nice. Awesome. All right, William, what is coming up for you and how can we connect?
Cool, thank you. Good luck for that book launch, Jess, I must add. And Lorraine, I must say, sometimes I think people must kind of hire me for my kind of league as well. So here in the league, I don't really know. So wasn't planned that way, of course, as you said. Anyway, so what's coming up for me? I think it's next week. I'm speaking for an Australasian Women's in Business Conference, Chartered Accountants, Australia and New Zealand. So that's going to be an exciting online presentation that I will be delivering. So looking forward to that. On the William Pike Challenge front, we are just really connecting with our kind of teachers and schools, making sure that they've got what they need during these kind of tricky times. So it's all busy with the team helping out in the background. And how can you get in touch? So I guess there's two avenues really. If you're a teacher and you're interested in getting your kids to learn some essential life skills through the William Pike Challenge, then you can jump onto williampikechallenge.co.nz and you can learn about the program. We'd love to kind of support you and work with you. And me being an ex-teacher, I get where kind of schools are at. And if you're, on the other hand, if the speaking side of things, if you're interested in getting your team to step outside of their comfort zone to achieve some amazing things, then just go to williampike.co.nz and you can learn a bit more, and hopefully we can connect. So two websites, both William Pike, one with a challenge on the end.
Amazing. Okay, I'll include the links. Thank you.
Lovely.
All right.
Thank
and
you.
Lorraine, what about you? What's coming up for you? How can people find you online?
So what's coming up for me is in a couple of weeks I'll be speaking at an international leadership conference for women. So that's obviously going to be online now. It was going to be in Wellington, so I'm looking forward to that. And I will be talking about legendary leadership. And in the meantime, there's a lot of people who just want to connect and understand their stress responses better. So lots of online panels like this coming up, which is fantastic. In the background, I'm busy rewriting and reworking our certification course in Coach School. So that's our ICF accredited coach training. So that's keeping me very busy and out of trouble. And if you do want to connect with me on anything, then lorrainehamilton.net, or you can find us at coachschool.academy if coaching is a skill that you want to develop for your own leadership.
Thank you so much. Awesome. That is so brilliant. So for you guys, what's coming up for me is I'm going to tell you in a moment about the upcoming episodes next week. I help people to amplify their impact, their business, and their wellness. So what's coming up for me is more of helping people do that. And I've got a group called Amplify Membership. So if you are a speaker or wanting to get your voice out on a wider level, more visibility, then get in touch with me, nataliecutlerwelsh.com, and you can find out about that. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And as promised, when we are all allowed to connect again, I'm definitely super keen to get all of my guests together. We'll probably have our own little event, not too big. And I'm so excited to connect you guys in person, because that's really what I started as, the go-to girl. It was really all about connecting people who, as I used to say, just need to meet each other. So I'm so happy that you guys got to meet in a digital platform today. Thank you so much to those guys that are watching us live or watching the replay. Do go ahead and comment. We've covered a few topics today, everything from comfort zone to resilience to being the leader that you were born to be. So we hope that this has inspired you and challenged you to move towards the life you want to live. Thank you so much to my guests. Great to see you. I'll move you off to the side over there. And so here's what we've got coming up, you guys, in the future episodes. Coming up next week, the topic we're doing, one of my favorite topics, one of the reasons I actually wrote my parenting book, If Only They Told Me. And the topic is called Keeping the Love Alive. So I've got Bridget Jackson coming in. Now she's from Equal X's. We've got Nikki Rose. She's from Spirit Fest. And if you know her, if you check her out on Instagram, it's going to be an interesting episode. I've also got Wynan Jacobs coming in. So I love to have the woman and man perspective always. So those are that's our topic next week on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we're going back to the topic of teens, supporting teens through challenging times. I've actually got my daughter's cheerleading coach. He's from America, and he is amazing with mindset. Often he'll be chatting to the girls and giving them mindset tips. And all the moms were like sitting up there, all the cheer moms, and we're like getting motivated and listening. So I can't wait to bring him in. That'll be amazing. We've got Ellie Bambury coming in. She's incredible because she bridges that gap. She's in her 20s. And so she works with teens, but she's not a teenager, but she's not a parent. So what happens is the teens tend to listen to her, which is really cool, more than their parents. So she's coming in. And of course, we've also got powerhouse Amanda Betts. And if you don't know her, as I always say with Amanda, buckle your seatbelt, get ready. You're in for a ride. So this is next week. And I've got a couple more episodes coming up. If you are keen to suggest a topic, get in touch. If you're keen to be in the show, get in touch or suggest a guest. I'm always open to hearing your thoughts. Thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, I am Natalie Cutler-Welsh. Remember to up your brave, say what you want, and make it happen. See you.